Welcome, brave souls, to a realm where shadows whisper secrets too vile for the light. I'm here to unravel tales so chilling that your skin will crawl long after the silence falls. Help me reach my first 1,000 subscribers, hit that button now, and together, let's unearth the horrors awaiting us tonight. Back at my family's rural home, the old tatami rooms and wooden hallways echoed with a new energy. Yumi named the doll Aiko, and it quickly became her constant companion. She spent hours sewing tiny outfits for Aiko, talking to her as if the doll could respond. It was heartwarming to see her so busy, and even more heartwarming that her health seemed to be improving. But something about Aiko began to unsettle me. I would catch glimpses of her in Yumi's room, and each time, her posture seemed a little different. The strangest thing happened one night when our cat, usually very affectionate, hissed at Aiko and stormed out of Yumi's room. After that, the cat refused to go back. It was as if Aiko had a presence that even animals could sense. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just my imagination. But deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something wrong with that doll. Back at my family's rural home, the old tatami rooms and wooden hallways echoed with a new energy. Yumi named the doll Aiko, and it quickly became her constant companion. She spent hours sewing tiny outfits for Aiko, talking to her as if the doll could respond. It was heartwarming to see her so busy, and even more heartwarming that her health seemed to be improving. But something about Aiko began to unsettle me. I would catch glimpses of her in Yumi's room, and each time, her posture seemed a little different. The strangest thing happened one night when our cat, usually very affectionate, hissed at Aiko and stormed out of Yumi's room. After that, the cat refused to go back. It was as if Aiko had a presence that even animals could sense. I tried to brush it off, telling myself it was just my imagination. But deep down I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something wrong with that doll. The middle of winter brought heavy snowfall, leaving our house isolated and shrouded in a cold silence. At this time, tragedy struck. Yumi suddenly collapsed. In just a few days, she was gone, leaving our family in a deep, mournful silence. The loss was unbearable, and in an attempt to remember her, my parents placed Aiko on the family altar. That night, as I lay in bed, the house became eerily quiet. Then, I heard a soft, haunting melody in Yumi's voice, drifting from the room where the altar was. My heart pounded as I crept closer, the singing growing clearer but still eerie. When I looked inside, Aiko was sitting on the altar, her long black hair seemingly several centimeters longer than the day before. The sight sent shivers down my spine. Was it just grief teasing me, or was something more sinister playing with that doll? The family garden had turned into a weedy, icy mess, reflecting the coldness that had settled in our hearts. Lately, I had been haunted by disturbing dreams. In them, Yumi appeared, holding Aiko tightly, her face pale and twisted in grief. She whispered to me, but her words were always just out of my reach, leaving me feeling scared. Every morning I woke up to bruises and scratches on my arms, as if the dreams weren't just figments of my imagination. I wasn't alone. My parents had started to notice strange things too. They swore they saw Aiko moving on her own, shifting from her place on the family altar. It was strange, and it made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. The strangest thing was the old grandfather clock in our hallway. Every night, at exactly 3:07 a.m., the exact time Yumi walked by, it would start to chime. The sound echoed throughout the house, a haunting reminder of our loss and a chilling suggestion that something was very wrong with Aiko. Desperate for answers, my family and I took Aiko to a remote shrine near Mount Osor, run by an elderly priest. The journey felt endless, each mile weighed down by our growing unease. Once there, the priest examined Aiko with a grave expression. He told us she was a vessel, but what he said next sent a chill down my spine. Yumi's spirit wasn't the only one trapped inside. The priest began a protective ritual, chanting softly and waving incense around Aiko. At first, everything seemed calm, but then the atmosphere shifted. Aiko started to resist violently, her body jerking as if fighting against an unseen force. It was terrifying to watch. During the height of the ritual, something even more unsettling happened. Aiko's mouth opened slightly, and I caught a glimpse of a second set of tiny teeth. The sight was so disturbing that it felt like a confirmation of the priest's words. There was indeed something sinister within that doll. Back at our home, now falling into disrepair, the rituals from the shrine seemed to have worked. The eerie occurrences stopped, and a sense of calm returned. But the more I thought about it, the more I began to question whether Yumi's spirit was really the one haunting us. There was something off about Aiko, something that felt deeper and darker. One day, I returned to the shrine to pray for Yumi, hoping to find some peace. As I sat there, my eyes fell on Aiko, still placed in the shrine. A strange urge came over me, and I carefully inspected her. To my shock, I found a hidden compartment inside her. Inside were old letters, yellowed with age, written by a girl from 1921. She pleaded desperately for someone to let her out. My heart raced as I read the signature at the bottom of the letter. It was Aiko. The realization hit me like a cold wave. The doll had a history far beyond Yumi, and perhaps a spirit trapped within it that wasn't my sister's at all. Years have passed since those haunting days, and now I'm a grown man living in Tokyo. I thought I had left Aiko behind at the shrine, but the whispers at night tell me otherwise. They're soft, almost imperceptible, but they're there, echoing through my apartment. It started with glimpses of Aiko in reflections, mirrors, windows, even the polished surface of my desk. Every time I catch a fleeting image of her crimson velvet and glassy eyes, a chill runs down my spine. It's as if she's following me, refusing to let go. Then, one day, a mysterious package arrived. Inside, I found a strand of long black hair and a single velvet slipper. My heart raced as I noticed a note attached to the hair, written in Yumi's unmistakable handwriting. She's not done yet. The realization hit me hard. Despite all our efforts, Aiko, or whatever spirit resides within her, is still out there, still connected to us. The haunting isn't over. It's just taken a new, unsettling form. It was just another early evening in my suburban apartment when my phone buzzed with a new voicemail. I tapped the screen, expecting it to be from a client about a graphic design project. But as the message played, my heart skipped a beat. It was Mia's voice, my younger sister, who had died in a house fire just 2 months ago. Her voice was unmistakable, yet it carried a haunting echo, as if coming from a distant place. The message ended abruptly with static, followed by a single, chilling phrase, "Find me." I checked the voicemail app in disbelief. The call had come from a number that no longer existed, traced back to an old landline at Oak Reserve, a long abandoned nature park on the city's edge. It was infamous for its overgrown cemetery and a mysterious phone booth rumored to connect you to the lost. I sat there, staring at my phone, the weight of Mia's words pressing down on me. The message shouldn't exist, yet here it was, pulling me toward a place I'd never been, but now felt compelled to visit. The mystery of Oak Reserve and the phone booth that might hold the key to finding my sister beckoned me. I knew I had to go, no matter how unsettling the journey might be. The moon was high as I made my way through the overgrown paths of Oak Reserve. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. I finally spotted it, tucked away among gnarled trees and toppled tombstones, the derelict phone booth. Its glass was smeared with grime, and the inside was covered in mold. The receiver hung loosely, as if someone had just used it. My heart pounded as I stepped inside. The space was cramped, the air stale. I hesitated for a moment before lifting the receiver to my ear. At first, there was nothing but silence, heavy and oppressive. But then, the static began. It crackled softly at first, growing louder, filling the booth with an eerie buzz that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. I gripped the receiver tighter, my mind racing with thoughts of Mia. Was she really on the other side of this line? The static was the only answer I had for now, but it was enough to keep me rooted to the spot, waiting for more, hoping for a sign that she was still out there, somewhere, needing my help. Under the watchful eye of the full moon, I stood inside the booth, the static buzzing in my ear like a swarm of restless bees. Then, cutting through the noise, I heard it Mia's voice, faint and distant, as if she were calling from the other side of a vast abyss. She was asking for help, her tone tinged with desperation, but something was off. Her words were fragmented, interrupted by strange echoes. Before I could make sense of it, other voices began to layer over hers. They were pleading, whispering my name, each one more urgent than the last. The air around me seemed to thicken, the booth feeling smaller by the second. Amid the cacophony, a clear message emerged. Follow the signal. Then, a specific time was given, 3:13 a.m. I clung to the receiver, my mind racing. The voices were guiding me, pushing me towards something unknown. The thought of Mia out there needing me was all the motivation I needed. I knew I had to be back at this booth at 3:13 a.m. Whatever was waiting for me, I had to face it for Mia. A thick fog enveloped the booth, turning the outside world into a blur. Panic rose within me as the glass began to fog up, obscuring my vision. Then I heard it, a soft tapping from outside, rhythmic and unsettling. My heart raced as I tried to see through the fog, but all I could see was my own reflection staring back at me. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared behind me in the reflection. The figure was shrouded in a dark shroud, its face obscured, but its eyes glowed a pale red, piercing the fog. I froze, unable to move, as the figure raised a bony finger and began writing on the frosted glass. Numbers appeared one by one. 7 - 4 to 0 M, -3 to 1. I wondered, could that be the code to the locked attic of my childhood home? The presence of the figure was overwhelming, but it disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, leaving me alone with the eerie silence and the mysterious message. I knew what I had to do next. The booth had led me here, and now it was leading me to the attic. Whatever secrets were hidden there, I needed to uncover them. For Mia's sake, I had to continue. I stood before the locked attic door of my childhood home, the code 74031 etched in my mind. With a trembling hand, I entered the numbers, and the door opened, revealing a space filled with dust and memories. I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the clutter until they stopped on an old box labeled with a date. My heart skipped a beat when I saw a box with the date of Mia's death written on it. I took the cassette tapes out of the box, my fingers shaking as I inserted one into an old player I found nearby. The tape crackled, and Mia's voice filled the attic. An unmistakable voice. She was talking to someone, her words disjointed, but clear enough to understand. She was saying that the fire was no accident. As I listened, another voice cut into hers, strange and familiar. It matched the tone I'd heard in the closet, confirming the supernatural connection I'd suspected. My mind raced with implications. Mia's death was more than a tragedy. It was shrouded in mystery, and this tape was another piece of the puzzle. I knew I had to dig deeper to discover the truth behind Mia's words and the strange voices that guided me. The attic holds secrets, and I'm determined to unravel them all. The storm rages outside my apartment, rain drumming against the windows like an ominous drumbeat. I'm sorting through the notes from the tapes in the attic when my phone suddenly rings. The screen shows an unfamiliar number, but I know right away it's the phone booth calling me again. With a mix of fear and determination, I answer. At first, there's static, but then a loud, chaotic scream. Then Mia's voice cuts through the chaos. "He knows you're listening." My heart races as the lights in my apartment begin to flicker, casting strange shadows around me. The voice continues, a warning echoing in the static. Some doors are open, never to be closed. The realization hit me like a wave. This wasn't just a haunting. It was a journey into a world I couldn't escape. The phone booth had opened a door, and whatever lay beyond it was now aware of me. I hung up, the storm outside mirroring the chaos inside me. I knew I had to get back to Oak Reserve to face whatever awaited me. For Mia and for the truth, I couldn't go back now. Just before midnight, I found myself back at Oak Reserve, the air thick with anticipation. The booth stood ominously among the gnarled trees, a silent sentinel in the night. I stepped inside, the familiar static greeting me as I picked up the phone. But this time, the shadowy figure in the shroud appeared before me, no longer a reflection, but a tangible presence. The figure pulled back its hood, revealing a face both old and weary. "I am the Keeper," it said, its voice echoing hauntingly. "A cursed former operator who will forever connect souls between realms." My heart pounded as the Keeper explained its purpose. It offered me a choice: stay and help lost souls, including Mia, or cut the line forever. The weight of the decision weighed heavily on me. Helping the lost meant digging deeper into this strange world, but it also meant a chance to find Mia and discover the truth about her death. The choice was clear. I couldn't turn away now. For Mia, and for all the souls trapped between realms, I had to stay and help. As dawn began to break, the sky tinged with pink and orange, I stood in the phone booth, the receiver pressed to my ear. I made my choice. I would help the lost souls, including Mia. Her voice rang out one last time, weak but grateful. "Thank you," she whispered, and then she began to fade, her presence slipping away like a dream at sunrise. The phone booth around me began to dissolve into mist, the line between reality and the other world blurring. I walked out, feeling both relieved and sad. Mia was gone, but I knew I had done what I could. The weight of this experience was heavy, but there was a peace in knowing I had a new calling to help others find closure. As I left Oak Reserve, the morning light guiding me, I saw a stranger enter my apartment building. He held an old rotary phone, its presence a haunting reminder that the cycle continued. The world was filled with souls in need, and now I was a part of their journey. Over the years, I continued my journey as a shaman who connected souls to the physical world. I helped them fulfill their unfinished desires, guiding them to liberation. It changed my life forever, but in the process, I found purpose and a way to honor Mia's memory. I was wiping down the last of the lab tables when Jenna leaned in close, her voice a hushed whisper that seemed to bounce off the glass beakers around us. "Ainsley, you've got to see this," she said, pulling out her phone. The screen glowed with the eerie title, The Crimson Reflection. It was a game-like site she'd stumbled upon in a forgotten corner of Reddit. As she scrolled, showing me the site that mirrored your face but twisted it into something else, I couldn't shake the chill that ran down my spine. Jenna's eyes were wide, not just from excitement, but from something deeper, a hint of fear. It blinked Ainsley. She whispered, her voice barely audible over the hum of the lab's ventilation. Before I did, I tried to laugh it off, to tell her it was just some clever coding or a glitch. But the way she looked at me, the seriousness in her eyes, made me pause. We were alone in the lab, the quiet of the school settling around us like a heavy blanket. The sight was unsettling, yes, but it was the way Jenna reacted that stuck with me. She was usually the skeptic, the one who debunked urban legends with a roll of her eyes, but not today. As we packed up to leave, I couldn't help but glance back at the darkened windows of the lab, half expecting to see something or someone watching us. The Crimson Reflection was just a website, I told myself. Just pixels and code. But as we stepped out into the cool evening air, I couldn't shake the feeling that we'd stumbled onto something far more real and far more dangerous than either of us could have imagined. The next day, I noticed Jenna seemed off during lunch at the school cafeteria. She kept glancing at her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she scrolled through her emails. When she finally showed me, the subject line sent a chill down my spine. See yourself. Know your fate. Asterisk, asterisk. I tried to reassure her, telling her it was just some creepy internet prank, but the look in her eyes told me she wasn't convinced. As the day wore on, Jenna's phone kept buzzing with unknown calls. She excused herself more than once, disappearing into the empty corridors, her face pale and drawn. I tried to follow her once, but she was gone before I could catch up. It was after school when the real panic set in. Jenna was nowhere to be found. I searched the hallways, my heart racing, until I heard soft sobbing coming from the janitor's closet. There she was, curled up on the floor, her arms scratched and bleeding. The cuts formed strange symbols, like jagged shards of a broken mirror. I helped her up, my mind racing with questions. What had happened? Why was she here? As we walked back to the nurse's office, I noticed her notebook lying open on the floor. Scribbled across the page were the words, asterisk. The reflection watches me sleep, asterisk. My heart sank. This was more than just a digital hoax. Something was seriously wrong, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the Crimson Reflection was at the heart of it all. The next day, I noticed Jenna seemed off during lunch at the school cafeteria. She kept glancing at her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she scrolled through her emails. When she finally showed me, the subject line sent a chill down my spine. See yourself. Know your fate. Asterisk, asterisk. I tried to reassure her, telling her it was just some creepy internet prank, but the look in her eyes told me she wasn't convinced. As the day wore on, Jenna's phone kept buzzing with unknown calls. She excused herself more than once, disappearing into the empty corridors, her face pale and drawn. I tried to follow her once, but she was gone before I could catch up. It was after school when the real panic set in. Jenna was nowhere to be found. I searched the hallways, my heart racing, until I heard soft sobbing coming from the janitor's closet. There she was, curled up on the floor, her arms scratched and bleeding. The cuts formed strange symbols, like jagged shards of a broken mirror. I helped her up, my mind racing with questions. What had happened? Why was she here? As we walked back to the nurse's office, I noticed her notebook lying open on the floor. Scribbled across the page were the words, asterisk. The reflection watches me sleep, asterisk. My heart sank. This was more than just a digital hoax. Something was seriously wrong, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the crimson reflection was at the heart of it all. The next day, I couldn't shake the image of Jenna collapsed in the bathroom. I needed answers, and I knew I couldn't do it alone. I convinced Theo, a classmate who loved mysteries, to help me keep an eye on Jenna. We followed her after school, and to my surprise, she headed straight for the old sealed art storage room, which was rumored to have been locked since a student disappeared 5 years ago. We watched Jenna sneak inside, a hand mirror peeking out of her bag. Theo and I glanced at each other before following her inside. The room was dusty, and the eerie silence of forgotten spaces. But what caught our attention were the dozens of cracked mirrors scattered everywhere, reflecting distorted images of ourselves. In the middle of the room was a screen covered in tape, flashing with a looping video that made me shiver. Asterisk. Do you want to see your crimson self? Asterisk. The words echoed in the quiet room, and I could feel the weight of them pressing down on us. As we watched, Theo's eyes widened in horror. He pointed at the screen, his voice shaking. Ainsley, look! I turned to see his reflection on the screen, blinking before he did. Theo's face paled, and he began to quietly panic, his breathing becoming ragged. My heart raced as I realized the severity of what we were facing. Crimson Reflection wasn't just a website, it was a portal to something terrifying. The next day, my mind was still reeling from what we had seen in the art storage room. I couldn't let Jenna fall any deeper into whatever trap the Crimson Reflection had set. But as I watched her from a distance, I noticed she was talking to Marina, a girl in our class. Something about their conversation made me feel strange. I followed them as they walked into the nearby clearing behind the school. Jenna seemed to be in a trance, her eyes distant as she led Marina deeper into the woods. I stayed close, hidden behind the trees, my heart pounding with fear and determination. In the clearing, Jenna pulled a blood-stained mirror from her pocket. She told Marina about her reflected self being the final key, her voice strangely calm. Marina looked confused but amused, stepping closer to the mirror. I couldn't let this happen. I rushed out of my hiding place, yelling at Marina to stop. Jenna turned around, her eyes wild and unrecognizable. She tried to force Marina to look into the mirror, but I grabbed her arm, pulling her away. A struggle ensued, and in the chaos, Jenna stumbled back, hitting her head on a rock. She collapsed, blood pouring from her wound, but she was still alive. My heart ached to see her like this, but I had to focus on Marina, who was sobbing and confused. As I helped Marina up, I glanced at the mirror, lying on the ground. I held my breath. In the reflection, I saw my own face, but it was smiling, a terrifying smile. Months had passed since that terrible day in the woods, and I found myself walking through the sterile halls of the mental hospital where Jenna was staying. The weight of what had happened still weighed heavily on me, but I needed to see her, to understand if there was any way I could help. I walked into her isolated room, and her image hit me hard. Jenna was thin, her eyes sunken, surrounded by shiny, silver-foiled walls and broken CDs, all reflective surfaces. It was like she was trying to hold something at a distance. As I sat next to her, she spoke in unintelligible fragments, her voice barely above a whisper. It was hard to follow, but one line stood out. "Don't look when it smiles first." Her words were too cryptic, a reminder of the horror we had faced. I tried to comfort her, to let her know she wasn't alone, but it felt like I was talking to a ghost. As I stood up to leave, my heart heavy, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I pulled it out, my hands shaking, and read the message on the screen. Asterisk, we still see you. Asterisk. Those words echoed in my mind, a chilling reminder that the crimson reflection had not yet let us go. It was still out there, watching, waiting. And as I left Jenna's room, I couldn't shake the feeling that this nightmare wasn't over.